Welcome to this latest episode of Comics Bazaar, which is going to focus on X-Men number 4, cover dated January 1992, and the cost of this issue at the time was $1. So the cover here features 3 X-Men facing off against a new character, a new antagonist, Omega Red, and we have here for the X-Men, Jubilee, aka Jubilee, in her redesigned costume by Jim Lee, which recalls Carrie Kelly's costume in Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. We've got, of course, Gambit and Wolverine, who has changed costume from the brown uniform to this original yellow and blue uniform. Jim Lee is the artist here, with inks by Scott Williams. And just opening up the comic, we see the prologue, which features the resurrection of an old foe of Wolverine's. This being this character here, who is the new antagonist for the X-Men, Omega Red, and has a history with Wolverine, it's revealed. So the scene switches to the X-Mansion, where the X-Men, after the events of issues 1 to 3, are having some downtime, relaxing, and they're playing a game of basketball. So it's Gambit and Jubilee versus Rogue and Wolverine, and they have agreed not to use their powers. And Gambit is really wiping the floor with Wolverine and Rogue in this scene. And Rogue gets upset because she's of the opinion that although they're not using their powers, one of Gambit's powers includes natural agility, as she says there. So there's a bit of a tiff between the characters, and Gambit decides to get serious by charging up the basketball with kinetic energy. Then we have a scene shift to a dream sequence where Moira MacTaggart is dreaming of her dead son, Kevin, aka Proteus, and Kevin turns into Magneto and drags her down the side of a cliff. And then there's more of this a fantastical imagery of nightmare characters and nightmarish Cyclops there. I think this is either supposed to be Magneto again or maybe Banshee, Sean Cassidy, and Moira wakes up from her dream. Now Moira is feeling very guilty over the role she played in the death of Magneto, the apparent death of Magneto, in issue number 3, because of her intervention into his DNA code, whereby when he was in an infant state, she tried to genetically manipulate his DNA so that he would grow up to be a good person rather than an evil mutant. So she awakens from the nightmare. Sean Cassidy, Banshee, is there. Very interesting panel choice here, where the panels spell out the word no, which she's obviously screaming as she wakes up. Cyclops and Professor X in his hover chair arrive, and Professor X is acutely aware that Moira is in distress, and uses his telepathic power to allow Sean, whose jaw is wired shut, to telepathically communicate and try and calm down Moira. And what happens in the midst of this, just as Moira is relaxing, Rogue is knocked through the bedroom window because presumably of the charged basketball, the kinetically charged basketball that Gambit has thrown at her. And this really ruins the moment, and Moira, upset again, leaves. So then we have a scene switch here to these characters. Fenris, these are two twins, German twins, Andrea and Andreas von Strucker. This scene is set in Berlin, and this Japanese character, Matsuo Tsurayaba, is making a deal with them in respect of Omega Red, whom he has overseen the resurrection of. And all of this is about acquiring power, and specifically immortality, as Andrea puts it at the end of this scene. Then we switch back to the mansion, and Gambit is charming Rogue there in respect of offering her a date that particular evening. She seems to say no, but later on we see that she's accepted the offer of a date. So here, for example, here he is waiting for her on his bike, and then she arrives for the date with this particular dress. And so there's a bit of banter there amongst the various X-Men. Wolverine, Jubilee and Beast are going to accompany Gambit and Rogue on their date as chaperones. So they're following behind in the Jeep that's driven by Beast. And Beast is using an image inducer in order to disguise his mutant appearance. So there he is, changing from blue furred Beast into a more human, ordinary human looking appearance. Meanwhile, back at the X-Mansion, Moira's decided to leave to get her head together away from the X-Men, whom she feels she's betrayed. And Sean Cassidy's bereft that she's leaving not just the X-Men, but him too. And then the scene switches back to Rogue and Gambit on the bike. Gambit is endeavouring to lose the chaperones back in the Jeep, but suddenly there appears across the road this wire, which he notices at the last moment. He ducks, and Rogue, who one of her powers is invulnerability, she's knocked off the bike by the wire. And then we have these characters here who attack them, destroy Gambit's bike, and then suddenly these tentacles choke off Gambit and Rogue, who go unconscious. These kinds of ninja types then attack Wolverine, Beast and Jubilee in the Jeep, and we see them battling them there. And they're doing pretty well against these guys until Omega Red turns up. And one of his powers is a kind of a death factor that makes people sick. And that's what's happened to Jubilee and Beast there. But it doesn't affect Wolverine as badly, because Wolverine, as one of his powers, has an accelerated healing factor. So that's obviously protecting him against Omega Red's mutant ability. So what happens is Omega Red attacks him. Wolverine recognizes him as a character from his past, Arkady, a Russian character from the past, but Omega Red says, "Arkady's dead, now I am Omega Red. It is you who are dead." And the X-Men are collected by the ninja characters who've changed costumes to appear as medics, and they put the X-Men aboard this ambulance. And meanwhile, Moira McTaggart in the taxi passes by. The driver says, "Look at that mess, maybe we should help." And she responds, "No, I don't want to look, I don't want to get involved, just drive, just get me away from here." So what's going to happen to the X-Men? Captured by this new antagonist, this new villain, Omega Red? Well, naturally enough, we've got to take a look at the next issue, issue number 5, coming next month. And what we have here for the first time in the comic is letters pages, and these letters are people's reactions and responses to X-Men number 1 in particular. So a 2-page letters column there. Interesting. And there you go. So X-Men number 4, the first post-Claremont issue of the title. I should just draw attention to the fact that the scripter of the issue is John Byrne. John Byrne's last story involvement with the X-Men characters was 1981's Uncanny X-Men 143. Byrne and Claremont were co-plotters and co-creators of some of the most renowned and seminal X-Men stories, including the Dark Phoenix saga and Days of Future Past. But Byrne left the book in 1981, and this is marks his return post Claremont. But it's Jim Lee who's plotting the story out here, and Byrne is providing the dialogue and exposition. Okay, so there you go, X-Men number 4 from 1992, the beginning of 1992, January 1992. And I hope that you enjoyed the video. If so, please like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you again in the next video when I'll take you through X-Men number 5. Stay tuned for that.